right, welcome back for another episode of Sneaky Keys. This is the video series where I talk about those books you may not be paying attention to. You may have forgotten about those hidden little gems you could probably find tucked away in those boxes out there that may be worth a few bucks more than you might actually expect. Hopefully you're enjoying this series as well as everything else here on the channel. Please let me know what you think in the comments down below. Make sure that you like, you subscribe, and you hit that alert button so you don't miss anything. Keep telling your friends so we can keep growing this channel. And if you want to see this week's rundown of books, just hang on for a few seconds after the intro, and I will be right back. All right, so let's start it off with some artists. And this week, instead of choosing one, I decided to give you guys a selection for the artist retrospective part of this little show here today. I know a lot has been made of those early Dan Quintana books. A lot of books really spiked about a few weeks ago with those detective comics, and then there's debate about the exclusive being actually first from Deceased #1, etc. Point being, heat was drawn to those books, and it came pretty quickly for those early works for a very popular artist right now. So Dan Quintana, some of his books spiked, leading a lot of people to look at his early works. So I figured, you know what? Let's look at some other things like that in that same kind of vein, so you can get in early, possibly ahead of the game. So first up, speaking of Dan Quintana, let's just take a look at this book right here. So this is another one of his early works. Granted, it's not his first. It came just after the two detective covers. There was that Detective 1006 and 1007. The two books that got really hot, spiked up over $100 or $50, etc. Here's another one that actually has seen some increases in prices too, that came just after them. This is that Justice League Dark number 13 cover that he did. It is a variant cover. It is a cardstock cover, so it is technically, I think, a B cover. But right now, it sells for about $15, which ain't too bad. It hasn't gotten too crazy yet, but some of the asks are a bit higher in that currently they're seeking $15 to $30. So if you find one in a back issue bin for cover price or less, will you get rich? No, but it could be worth your effort to pick it up for $5 if you can find it. Or, like I said, less than cover, because you may find it for less than cover, because it is just a Justice League Dark random issue number 13. It's not a key in any way, so there's a good chance that it is just tucked away in a back issue bin somewhere. So give it a look-see. Maybe you get lucky and you find this early Dan Quintana cover. So that's kind of where I wanted to start with this, but we're not just going to cover Dan's covers. We're going to talk about a couple other artists too that you may be able to grab some of their early works, because they some of them fall in a very similar situation like our next artist. So the artist I want to talk about here is Ivan Talavera, who I'm a big fan of his work. I love collecting his covers. Granted, I can't get them all because many of his covers, including his first and earlier works, were exclusives. So they're a little pricey. They're pricey out of the gate. So going and finding some of them is not only going to be a little bit tough buying them in the aftermarket, but they cost a bit of, a couple bucks before, we even started, because they were exclusives. So with that, this cover here, though, is what I believe is his first open order, regular issue. You would have found it on the shelves at your LCS type cover, not an exclusive, because his early exclusives, I think, were through 616, if I'm not mistaken. And this is a cover that you could have gotten at any shop. So want to point that out, because this is very similar to that Detective Comics that got very pricey for Dan Quintana. So maybe a similar thing could happen here. I don't know. But Action Comics number 1065, regardless of what it might do in the aftermarket going forward, it's a gorgeous cover. I dig it. Like I said, I'm a fan of Ivan's art, and I think this is one that you should just add just for the sake of adding it, because it's a good Supergirl cover. So issue 1065, it only sells for about $7 to $15. Again, broad strokes prices here. There may be some higher, there may be some lower. This is just kind of the general range of what I saw as far as sales go, as well as listings, which are basically $5 to $15, which even at $5, that's less than cover. This is a $6 book because this is a variant cover for DC, so it costs an extra dollar. So $5.99 is the cover price, but there are copies listed for like $5, so you can get it for less than cover even online right now. So again, I'm not saying you're going to get rich and you're guaranteed to make money if you find one and decide to try to flip it, but you possibly could, as it does have listings going up to $15, and some have sold for up to $15. So it's kind of a crapshoot. But my point is, early artist work, if you like collecting that kind of stuff, this is something you can get now, tuck away. Who knows what may happen down the line. But again, this is what I believe is Ivan Talavera's first open order work. So maybe something will happen one day. other artists that I personally like is where I'm going with this. So I'm going to look at another one here. So following Ivan, we're going to look at Eom. I don't want to Kyung Eom, if I'm saying the artist name properly. Also very popular as of late. A lot of variant covers, more on the cheesecake side of things. And that leads into this Vampirella cover here. So this is Vampirella number 25. And again, prior to this, Eom's work and mostly been sort of like earlier, like Kickstarter type books, also exclusive covers through through different shops. So exclusives are a tricky business because, again, not access for everyone. You had to know about it, track it down, order it from that particular store, that particular shop to get that book. So it's generally something that I don't cover here a lot on the channel. I generally try to lead more towards things you can find at your LCS, at any LCS, because it was open order, like this Vampirella cover number 25. There is a variant version of this, but I'm just talking about the trade dress version, which, again, right now, it only sells for like cover price. It's only $4. But this is, again, what I believe to be Eom's, one of his earlier works that was open order for everyone, if not the first. So something you can go and buy and tuck away for cheap for now, because there are some listings seeking, once again, a little bit more, $5 to $15 on this one. So may not get rich, but maybe one day, if Eom becomes the next hot artist and then everybody starts searching those early works, this is going to be one of those ones that people are going to start checking off the boxes, unless they're looking for exclusives. Because again, there are exclusive works that may have come before this, but this is one of the earliest, if not the earliest, open order book that I personally researched and could track down. So with that, Vampirella 25 by Eom for that one. Let's go back a bit further, because this is an artist who's been around for a while. I've been loving his covers the last year or so. Been killing it lately, and that is Lee Bermejo. And Lee Bermejo's been around a while. Like Lee Bermejo's not a hot new artist, but I'm glad to see that some of his more recent work is getting more popular. But you can go all the way back to Gen 13 Carney Folk for his first, I believe, cover. So this is, I believe, first cover. I think he had some interior work before this, prior to this Carney Folk, but here is where we got the first cover by Lee Bermejo, and you can see the little signature there underneath the poster. And style, pretty close. I mean, it's more painterly now. This is more pencils, but still, you can still see the broad strokes general outline of his character work in the faces when you go back even this far. So Gen 13 Carney Folk number 1 is a book that, yeah, I saw it sell for as cheap as $2 online, $1.99. And there are even copies listed as cheap as $2 and some as high as $15. Once again, kind of a crapshoot what you might get for this, but if you're an artist collector like me, I like collecting art from artists and some of their early works, etc. This, I believe, is Lee Bermejo's first actual cover work, so this is one that you might want to go and tuck in. Again, could there be something out there that I'm missing? It's possible, but I know he did some interiors prior to this, but I think this might be the first cover from when I was doing my digging and researching. So for $2, could be worth a pickup. But I'm, again, not telling you to buy this online. I'm telling you to look at your shop, dig in a back issue bin, dig in a dollar box, find this stuff for cheap, and who knows where you might go with it from there. But that is the next book. And then from here, there's another one. I'm not going to say this is the first work for this artist. This is just early work first at DC that I'm aware of, and this is, let's see if I'm going to get this right, Kamome Shirahama. Awesome Japanese art, Japanese artist. I dig it. I think this is the first here at DC. I think might have been some manga work and some work in maybe other mediums, but as far as comic book cover wise, I think this is the first, at least over at DC, that I could track down. And I did some more digging. I don't think I could find anything else before then, but again, if I'm wrong, please put it in the comments down below. But regardless of all that, this one in particular is still worth looking for. Go look in a back issue bin. Go look in those, those boxes, because this one sells for $40 to $80 already. So this one's already pretty pricey. It is one of those Nightwings. I'm sorry, I didn't give you the number. It's Nightwing number 52. Sorry, I didn't mention that earlier. But Nightwing 52 variant cover. We know we've covered a lot of Nightwing on this show because there's a lot of Nightwing covers that are worth a lot. Those early Dan Moras, etc. And I've got a few more I want to talk about in a minute. But before we get there, this one is one you definitely want to keep an eye out for. Look, $40 to $80 ain't too bad for actual sales. Current listings right now are listed for about $65. So this is definitely one that goes for a nice chunk of change if you could find it for that Shirihama work. So keep an eye out for it. And those are the artist books that I wanted to spotlight here. Early artist covers. You could find some of them cheap, some of them are already expensive. Regardless, keep a lookout for them. So before we move on to the next segment, I want to remind anybody out there who needs supplies, use my code RENA10 over at BCW. Get your bags, your boards, your long boxes and short boxes, CGC boxes, top loaders, basically anything to keep your comics or collectibles safe. You got to buy supplies. You hate spending that money, so you might as well save some while you do it. Use my code RENA10 for 10% off your entire order. You get yourself a discount. You help out the channel. You really got nothing to lose by doing so. So with that, I want to get back to Nightwing. So we're not going to leave that topic completely undone. And no, I'm not going to talk about more Dan Mora covers as much as I like them. And yes, there are plenty more that we could still kind of talk about that are worth a few bucks. But I'm actually going to pivot to a different artist who does have some Nightwing covers that also are worth your time in looking for. First up, this one is the first Heartless, so it is a little pricier already for that reason. You know, the villain that ran through this time frame of Nightwing. But Nightwing number 80 also featured this cover by Jamal Campbell. It was Campbell, right? Yeah. Nightwing number 80, B cover. I like the whole little layout there with the clotheslines, and it's making the Nightwing logo. It's pretty cool. But this is definitely one you should keep an eye out for because it does sell for $15 to $35. So $15 to $35 ain't too bad if you can still find this for cover price or close to that. It might be tougher, as I said. First appearance of Heartless, and the issue number is trickier to find. And I know we're going to get into the whole debate of first cameo and all that. That's not the point. The point being this cover. So this particular cover is also listed for about $40 currently. So if you can find this one for less than that, you could do well, as it is already selling for a good bit of money. Now, some other covers from Campbell that you can keep an eye out for. Well, here's one that's a little bit less than that one, but still worth looking into, is this one right here, number 99, as we can look with issue 9, number 99. This is like the B cover, $4.99 on the cover price, but this one sells for about $10 to $25. Sorry, just had a little brain fart there for a second. But $10 to $25 is the current actual sales, with listings in a similar range, more about $15 to $30 though. So seeking a couple of bucks more for this Campbell cover. And no, not J. Scott Campbell, Jamal Campbell. That's 99. Another issue worth looking out for is this next one here. This is issue 102. Pretty cool cover. I like it with the trade dress being worked in with the, the rope from his little batons, almost Daredevil style. I mean, Nightwing and Daredevil do have that similar kind of thing in common with their weaponry. But 102 is another cool cover. Also, you got the light and you got this night sky. It's a nice little layout. I dig it. And buyers dig it as well, as this one sells for $10 to $40. Again, kind of a wide range. Cheap as 10, high as 40. They're actually, again, outliers on both sides of this, but general range is about 10 to 40 bucks for sales, and asking prices are about the same, 20 to 40 for this particular one. And it's got a $5.99 cover, so keep that in mind as well. So there's 3 for you to keep an eye out for, and there's still a couple more. I'm going to go back issue-wise a few, and we're going to look at this one first. This is issue 87, so you've got Nightwing and his dog, who was also popular during this run of the comic, and this issue 87 also does well, as this is about a $40 book with actual sales. So 40 bucks already for this. So if you could find this for less at a shop near you, wherever you're doing your digging, good job, because this is a $40 book. Listings could get even more, because the minimum is 40 and it goes up to 80. So 40 to 80 for this particular cover, and it's not one of the Dan Moras. This is like I said, this is a Campbell cover. But same story. These Nightwing variants, you can basically grab most of them and do pretty well. But there we go. Issue 87, kind of wrapping up that little subset. But I got one more that could also pop like those other ones have. So keep an eye out for this one. As you got, Oracle, Barbara Gordon there on the cover of issue 88. The next issue, following that last one with him and the dog, this could be another one that we could see spike in the future. It's a couple of bucks. This is $10 to $20 already, but maybe it reaches that $40 mark at some point, like that issue 87. But who knows? Just saying, even right now, if you find this issue 88 cover, you're getting 10 to 20 bucks with listings in that same range of $10 to $20. So definitely one to keep an eye out for if you're out there, like I said, doing your digging. So there are some more Nightwing covers for you to be aware of that sell for maybe a few bucks more than you thought. Again, they're not Dan Mora's. These are the Jamal Campbell covers. With that said, we've got one more chunk of books, but before we get there, just like at BCW, you can use my code RENA10 over at Gemini to save money over there. So if you need shipping supplies, say you found some of these comics, say you flipped them for a profit, you need to mail them off now. You're selling them on eBay, you're selling them on whatnot, wherever. You need shipping supplies. You hate buying that stuff, so you might as well save some money while you do it. 10% off using my code RENA10 over at Gemini and get your, Gemini mailers. You can also get bags and boards and boxes, short boxes and long boxes too, but most likely you're going to Gemini to get those Gemini mailers that we all should be using because they keep those comics safe when you're mailing them off after you did what you have to do. For whatever reason you need to mail comics, this is the way to go. Save some money while you do it. 10% off using my code RENA10. Now, with that said, moving on, last section. Yes, more second printings. By watching this show, I like talking about later printings, and there's generally a bunch out there that are worth more than you might think. This week, special topic, one character in particular, and pretty much a run and a title that I want to talk about the second printings for, and that is Gwenpool. So, the unbelievable Gwenpool, going back to the issue 0 for this series, there was a second print that you should just be aware of. Basically, it's the same cover. These first few, actually all of these, are the same cover, just redone trade dress, basically. So this has a blue trade dress for the second printing. That's really the only difference between the first printing and the second printing is the Gwenpool is in blue on the second print. I mean, you can see the text second printing there underneath the issue number 0. It says second printing. You can also do the barcode that I've also, tried to teach you guys all out there as well. As if you read the barcode, that last digit in the barcode tells you the printing, and you can see this ends in a 2. So keep an eye on that as well. So this one, again, you're not going to get rich. This is a $10 book if you find it. But if you're digging in a box, it's only a couple bucks. It's a dollar bin, whatever it might be. You might do all right. You might be happy to find a $10 book in a dollar bin. So average sales are $10, but listings, they're seeking a little bit more. They're looking for more like 15. So perhaps you get something closer than the higher end and you get more like 15 if you find this one in the future. So issue 0, definitely one to keep an eye out for this one. That's issue 0. Now we'll go to issue 1. We'll get right into the regular title. And yes, issue 1 does all right on its own. And you can also see the actual, I should also point out, it's not just the trade dress, which is recolored. This, again, has blue in the unbelievable Gwenpool, but the text of the word bubbles there. Second printing, woo! So the other one actually does mention second printing as well. And you can, again, do the barcode thing to see it as well, so it's second print. But one of these hasn't sold in the last few months, so I can't tell you what the market's willing to pay, but I can tell you it ain't going to be cheap because current listings for this are $20 to $40. So if you can find a second printing for number 1, and that's right, not the first printing, second printing, it's 20 to 40 bucks with CGC 9.8s of the second print listed for $200 or more. I think one's even all the way up to $500, but a lot of them, I think there's like a handful listed for about 200, like 225 for a 9.8. So if, again, you find a nice, clean, crispy copy that can get graded, maybe do even better. But that's issue 0, issue 1. So yes, we're moving on to, as you might guess, issue 2. Blue trade dress, as I mentioned, second printing here. Second print, I'm a hit, get it. This one is a bit trickier. Cover is exactly the same as the first print, which is why this was interesting that I did find a sale, and it was only $6, but it did not say it was a second print. They actually sold this as if it were a first printing or just a regular issue, which can sell, between $5 and $10 for the regular issue. But meanwhile, second prints for this are not easy to find, as I couldn't find any listed for issue 2 currently. I went looking, couldn't find them. So who knows what this one could do if you find one. Maybe you find it gets closer to that issue 1, or maybe it is just a $10 book. Point being, keep an eye out for it. Definitely not an easy one to find, but one you should be aware of. Like I said, you got the word bubbles mentioning the second printing, the trade dress being different, and the barcode kind of helping you along to know the difference between the first and the second. And then next, we will go to, yes, issue 3. This is the final one of this early issue run of the second printing. So issue 3, also getting the second printing here. You got the, I don't think it's MODOK. I can't remember which one that is. But fun little cover, just like the regular first print, but blue trade dress, second printing mentioned on the cover, barcode confirms it. Another one. Oh, I'm sorry, it's not a third print. This is a second print. I forgot to change that from the last bit, but none sold. So none sold recently for this one, but listings only like 10 to 15 bucks. So maybe it is like $10 to $15. And like I said, maybe the second print for issue 2 is also in this range, but who knows? Who knows down the line as more and more folks adopt and start picking up Gwenpool books. Because I know, see plenty of this on IG. A lot of people like the character. And who knows? If she ever gets adapted, this could be something that could be a hit for Marvel. You know, especially to do something animated, that could be pretty well done for this character. Like a good avenue. I don't know. Just saying. But moving on, sorry for the third printing bit. It should be second. It's just I didn't fix the deck. One more to talk about is this one here. And this is later in the run. It's issue 21 after all. But this is where Marvel did those lenticular covers where they took an homage and it was like, hey, look, you got the original and then it morphs into the new. This is the Nakayama new version that they did on the second print where they take the lenticular bit away and just give you that new cover art homage and sold it that way. They did it for a bunch of titles, and a lot of these are worth keeping an eye out for and looking for. And this one is no different. Issue 21 for Unbelievable Gwenpool. Now, just like the last book, none sold recently because it's not something I think a lot of people are hunting for right now, even though you got Doom right there. It's the with the infamous Doom at the time. But yeah, Doom, Gwenpool, who knows? But this is listed for $15 to $30. So the asking prices show that this is still one you want to keep an eye out for if you're out there digging. So 15 to 30 bucks still wouldn't be a bad return on investment if you can find this anywhere near cover because it was $3.99 to start. So with that all said, that's this week's selection of books. That's what I got for you. Hopefully you found a few books you weren't aware of. There's some new stuff for you to keep an eye out for. And just new things for you to hunt. And until next time, thank you again for all the support. And I'll see you all later with some more content. All right.